We're continuing to follow breaking news out of Dayton tonight. Crews, they are on the scene of a shooting. It's on Lake Bend Drive. We learned the victim has been taken to the hospital. Gwyneth Falloon is there now. Gwen, what have you learned about what happened here?
Well, Adam, like you said, I am here on Lake Bend Drive. Dayton police crews are still here on the scene. Let me show you the scene. Now, dispatch confirmed to us just a few minutes ago that one victim is being transported to the hospital. We also know that crews responded to shots fired. Now, I've been trying to speak with some bystanders that are just out taking a look at the scene as well. Some tell me that this large police presence isn't overly unusual for this area. I'm also told that the building crews seem to be focusing on has about 10 to 11 townhomes in it, but that's really all the new information I have for you. Again, we know that one person was transported to the hospital, and crews are still on the scene here after responding to shots fired. But as we learn any new information, we'll be sure to bring you the latest here on air as well as online. Back to you.
And we're also following a developing situation tonight, a frightening situation. In fact, earlier on I-70 in Columbus, an officer shot on that highway while chasing 3 suspects involved in an armed robbery spree. Tonight, we do know one suspect is dead, 2 others still on the run. It happened after a robbery at a Porsche dealership.
Yeah, officers chased that suspect, or these suspects rather, to I-70 near Mount Street in downtown Columbus. That is where investigators say the officers and the suspects, they exchanged gunfire. A Columbus officer was shot, taken by his partner to Grant Medical Center in critical condition. He was immediately taken into surgery, has been upgraded to stable. Emotions still very high for that officer tonight.
2 guys, I should even call them guys. They are wolves. That's what they are. I can tell you right now, crime is at an all-time high. We're doing the best we can. We police the way you want to be policed. If you want to see proactive, aggressive policing, then contact your police chief, contact your governor, contact the mayor, contact the president of China for all I care. Go out there and tell them we want to police this city the aggressive way and start lowering this crime.
Yeah, 2 other suspects still at large tonight. The Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation now leading the way in this case. And tonight, as we mentioned, that officer is at Grant Medical Center recovering tonight, and there has been an outpouring of support from his brothers and sisters in blue.
Isabel Hansen was at the hospital tonight with a look at how the police community is rallying behind him.
Shots fired, make it 10-3, 10-3.
With that radio transmission,
One of the worst things for any officer to hear is 10-3, shots fired, officer down.
officers from several different agencies rushed to Grant Hospital and waited.
You want to help. Everybody shows up as quick as they can to do whatever they can.
I was at the hospital with my brothers as we stood outside the OR, and we have one of our brothers literally fighting for his life. Massive blood loss.
Columbus police officer and union president Brian Steele tells us the injured officer's young with a family at home.
That individual, our officer, our FOP brother, he woke up today. He kissed his family, he kissed his wife and kids goodbye, and now he's shot.
As doctors perform surgery inside the hospital, BCI investigators gathered evidence from this police cruiser just outside the hospital. Investigators tell us another officer drove the injured officer to Grant after the shooting. Franklin County Sheriff Dallas Baldwin's one of those from neighboring agencies to rush to the hospital.
You're concerned about them. You want to make sure that they're going to be okay, that they're going to survive, and then you worry about their families, their wives, their husbands, children. You don't know. I mean, you don't know really what to think.
He says when an officer's hurt, everybody hurts.
We're just all praying for the family and the officer and hope everyone's okay.
That was Isabel Hansen reporting, and of course we will continue to update you on this story as soon as we learn more. You can find all of the updates right now at Dayton247now.com. Meanwhile, our area's largest school district now seeing a major overhaul in leadership. Dr. Elizabeth Lawley is leaving Dayton Public Schools for a different job. DPS announcing that she's been named interim superintendent of Lakota Local Schools in Liberty Township. Now, Lawley has served the district for the past 6 years. She announced back in January that she was leaving DPS in July. She'll begin her new role on the 19th. Now, Dayton Public Schools is beginning the search for its own interim superintendent. And the district will be discussing the hiring process next Tuesday at its Board of Education review session. That'll be at 5:30 at Belmont High School, and it will be live streamed on DPS's YouTube channel.
All right, to weather now, and it's been quite a week, especially when it comes to the humidity and the mugginess of
Right.
the week.
Kind of on and off showers too has been the trend.
It's been kind of a gross week, in my opinion. Anyway.
Yeah, I agree. Tomorrow's looking a lot better though. So if you're tired of the humidity and if you just want to not worry about the rain, Friday's looking good. But here's a look at what's going on right now. Rain's now pushing off to the east. Going to continue to see slightly cooler, slightly drier air settle in as we head into this evening. We did see some good rainfall totals, though, mainly in our eastern counties from storms earlier into the day. You can see in parts of Clark County, south of Springfield, 2.7 inches estimated by radar. Just a couple of downpours that made their way through. Same thing in parts of Greene County, almost 3 inches of rainfall estimated across parts of Greene County as well. So good soaking rainfall for our eastern counties. Rest of us kind of hit and miss showers, but we do have 70s out there right now. Slightly drier air settling its way in. You can see dew points back down into the 60s. So we'll continue to see more comfortable air slide in tonight with lows dropping into the mid 60s. July is National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, and many organizations are working to break the stigma. Abby Forbes spoke with Montgomery County Adamus and the Dayton unit of the NAACP, joining us now live in studio. So, Abby, why are they putting so much emphasis, and why do they say this is so important?
Yeah, so according to the Montgomery County Adamus Board, black children under the age of 13 are twice as likely to die by suicide compared to their white peers. Now, the Dayton NAACP told me that a large portion of the problem is because of that distrust in the system, but another portion has to do with the different cultural backgrounds people come from. And I'm told that having practitioners be culturally aware is an important step in the right direction.
What I found out is people don't really care what you know as much as they know that you care. And that's what we as clinicians have to do. Let people know that we care. And when you know that you care, you're going to get enough knowledge of that culture that you are culturally competent.
So, Abby, did they give you any resources for those who are looking for help?
Yes, they did. So the Montgomery County Adamus shared some resources they have available, one being their Life is Better With You Here social media campaign. This is to reduce stigma, and they also have a variety of trainings available when it comes to mental health. They also received a grant to promote Black youth mental health, and more information about these can be found on their website, which is linked in the web version of this story on Dayton247now.com. Back to you.
Abby, thank you. We are learning tonight recent mosquito samples in Clark County tested positive for West Nile virus. West Nile, the leading cause of mosquito-borne disease, and it is commonly spread by bites from an infected mosquito. Now, there's no vaccine for it, but you can protect yourself by wearing long-sleeve shirts, pants, and using insect repellent. Doctors told us that while most people never develop any symptoms, some cases can be severe.
In its most severe form, it causes what's called encephalitis, which is an infection of the brain, can cause people to have confusion, altered mental status, being practically comatose, or even death.
Experts also say if you find a dead bird in your yard and suspect it's from West Nile, you can report it to the health department.
And new reports tonight show in the next few years there won't be enough direct care workers for dementia patients. Melina Brown spoke with specialists to discuss what can be done for those patients.
I spoke with the Dayton Alzheimer's Association, who tells me they can't give a specific reason for why they've lost healthcare workers. However, after COVID, burnout has affected the entire healthcare field. In a report they released earlier this year, they say that they need an additional 1.5 million care workers between now and 2030. Obviously, the turnover has a big impact on dementia patients.
Change is bad for people with Alzheimer's and dementia. So the more consistency you can have, a consistent home health care worker, consistent, STNA or nurse in a facility, that makes all the difference in the world and really does help the caregivers as well.
The Alzheimer's Association also offers help to families. They provide care consultations to provide resources for now and in the future. They also encourage families to seek additional emotional support like therapy if needed. Back to you.
And in a new development today, the FDA officially approved the first drug that slows the course of Alzheimer's disease. It's called Leqembi, and it will be accessible to roughly 1 million people with early forms of the memory-robbing disease. Now, the FDA's approval triggered coverage by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services with contingencies, since the drug cost more than $26,000 before insurance. Now, people with the more advanced forms of Alzheimer's may not benefit from the drug, and there are side effects here. But patients call it a new era treatment and a new era of hope. The president and chief executive officer of the Alzheimer's Association released this statement earlier today in reaction to the news. She says, quote, "This treatment, while not a cure, can give people in the early stages of Alzheimer's more time to maintain their independence and do the things they love."
Cincinnati City Council trying to ban flavored tobacco products, including vapes. Why vape users say this will cause an uprise in cigarette smokers.
And President Biden touting his economic agenda today, why he says Bidenomics is making a difference in both red and blue states.
Plus, I'm tracking our Friday forecast. I'll talk about that coming up here in just a bit. Here's a live look from our Eco Plumber Skycam. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
An update tonight on the man arrested near former President Barack Obama's home last week. Lydia Bice is back at the Now Desk. Lydia, what have you learned?
That's right, Elise. The man arrested near former President Obama's Washington, D.C. home last week is being held without bond after a court appearance earlier today. D.C. police and federal law enforcement arrested 37-year-old Taylor Toronto on June 29th on a fugitive charge linked to an existing arrest warrant surrounding his alleged involvement in the January 6th Capitol riot. The FBI had been monitoring Toronto's online activities because of his involvement in the riot and began searching for him last Wednesday when he said on a YouTube live stream that he planned to blow up the National Institute of Standards and Technology. His YouTube live streaming is actually how they finally caught him, because he was streaming from the Washington, D.C. neighborhood where Obama lives, saying that he was looking for entrance points and, quote, wanted to get a good angle shot on the president. Now, law enforcement sources say he was not in the protective bubble of the former president and did not get past any checkpoints. Back to you.
Well, quieter weather out there after some thunderstorms, heavier downpours earlier into the day, especially for our eastern counties. Slightly cooler, slightly drier air is making its way in with this cold front, which continues to head its way off to the east. So moving through the overnight hours, we're going to be dropping down into the mid 60s as you wake up in the morning, a little bit better than we have been. Tomorrow afternoon's really just looking nice. Highs low, maybe some mid 80s out there, mix of sun and clouds, but looking really good with that slightly lower humidity. But Saturday does look a little stormy. Scattered rain, some thunderstorms will be making their way in. As far as timing, hard to pinpoint at this point, but it does look like throughout the day we'll be tracking several rounds of precipitation during our day on Saturday, some of which could be on the stronger to severe side. I'll have more on that coming up here in a bit.
Tonight, Cincinnati City Council trying to ban flavored tobacco products, including vaping liquids. James Pilcher spoke to a store owner and vape users who say such a move would actually push people back to cigarettes.
Jeff Kaufman runs 3 Cincy Vapors vaping stores in the tri-state. 95% of his business is flavored vaping fluids, which he says are not for kids, but mainly for adults trying to quit smoking and reduce nicotine intake. This comes after his previous experience selling tobacco from different stores. Kaufman's now worried his current stores will be shut down. Governor Mike DeWine this week vetoed a provision in the state budget that would have kept cities, counties, and townships from regulating tobacco products. But Kaufman says he doesn't sell to minors, and the state needs to better enforce rules and crack down on dealers who do. In Cincinnati, I'm James Pilcher.
Tonight, the Dayton Police Department taking to Twitter asking for your help to identify a woman accused of threatening clerks at a local Dollar General. Now, it happened on June 29th around 2:30 in the afternoon. So let's take a close look at those photos. This is the woman that the police say was inside the Dollar General on Gettysburg Avenue when she waved a knife threatening the clerks before stealing items. Police are asking for any information about the suspect or incident. You can call Dayton Police or leave a tip anonymously by calling Miami Valley Crime Stoppers at the number on your screen.
The company behind the deadly submersible implosion is now suspending operations. OceanGate owned the vessel that went missing near the wreckage of the Titanic. It's believed that the submersible imploded on descent, killing all 5 people on board, including the company's CEO. OceanGate's website says it is suspending all exploration and commercial operations. The U.S. Coast Guard is investigating what happened.
Tonight, President Biden touting his economic agenda, dubbed Bidenomics. He took a trip to South Carolina to highlight a new partnership between a solar energy equipment company and a manufacturing giant. The solar company is making a $60 million investment to open up 6 new manufacturing lines, creating about 1,800 new jobs across the U.S. He argues Bidenomics is making a difference in both red and blue states.
When I got elected, when I proposed these pieces of legislation, I made a commitment that I'd be president for all Americans, whether their elected officials voted for the events or not. All Americans, wherever you voted for me or not. And I've kept my promise.
Now, the president says companies have committed more than $500 billion in manufacturing and clean energy investments under his administration.
All right, it is Friday Eve. Let's take a look outside on our Eco Plumber Skycam. Another muggy one today. Things are going to pick up and be a little bit better.
It's a little less muggy out here right now compared to how we have been here recently. Slightly cooler, drier air making an impact, but we do have more rain on the way. After some rainfall for today, we saw just under 1/4 inch in Dayton today, but for the month of July, 2.45 inches of rainfall. That puts us over 1.5 inches above what we typically see by this point during the month of July. As far as our drought monitor, new one released for today, still abnormally dry conditions for the Dayton area, moderate drought conditions for our far southern counties. But we got more rain on the way as we check into this weekend. We'll be tracking scattered rain and storms, especially during the day on Saturday. So coming up, I'll have a look at that and a look at our 7-day.
Lives and families destroyed by youth gun violence. How a local nonprofit is helping keep kids out of trouble.
Also, a new social media app going head-to-head with Twitter. Why it's now being accused of stealing trade secrets.
You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
Lives and families have been destroyed by youth gun violence, and now a nonprofit in the tri-state area is hoping a 300-mile bike ride will help local teens stay out of trouble. Chelsea Sick shows us how they'll use those skills to stay off the streets.
5 teens have been training for this resiliency ride here at the Lord's Gym in Price Hill. The nonprofit's executive director says we're right now standing in ground zero for some of that uptick in teen violence. He's hoping this ride really helps these teens realize what the world has to offer beyond these Cincinnati neighborhoods. Now, the teens will leave for Pennsylvania on Saturday, where they will start their 335-mile bike ride to Washington, D.C. The group has been training at local parks, some of them for the past 6 months. Zach is one of the teens going on the trip. He's only 14, but says he's most excited that this bike ride will get him out of the neighborhood.
There's more fights and stuff. We were doing football and there were just a bunch of kids fighting.
You're going to have to come back to the neighborhood. How are you hoping it helps you stay away from those things that are happening?
Being in the nature and stuff, it might help me stay calm.
The ride starts on July 8th and runs through July 16th. The adults and the teens will be camping along the way. You can learn more about the resiliency ride and how to sponsor a rider right now on local12.com. Just click this story on our homepage. Chelsea Sick, Dayton 24/7 Now News.
Well, Mark Zuckerberg's answer to the issues with Twitter has arrived in big numbers. Threads launched last night. Already, Meta says that 30 million people have signed up for it. The app is similar to Twitter's design with the ability to post text, photo, and video threads, hence the name. Meta executives are calling it a, quote, sanely run version of Twitter. It's the latest in a string of Twitter rivals to emerge since Elon Musk took over the platform last year. But unlike others, Meta already has 3 billion people worldwide using all of its services.
Now, in response to the launch, Musk is accusing Meta of stealing trade secrets. Musk's attorneys sent them a letter alleging the new service is a clone made by former Twitter employees. In response, Meta's communications director said, quote, no one on the Threads engineering team is a former Twitter employee. The letter shows Musk's concern about the competition. Twitter has undergone a lot of changes and issues since he bought the company.
A story from our partners at the Dayton Business Journal tonight. HPC Fire Inspired, a Miamisburg manufacturer of fire features, has acquired Galaxy Outdoor LLC, a Las Vegas company that makes custom and standard outdoor kitchen islands. Now, the strategic move expands HPC Fire Inspired's reach of its products, also establishes a Western distribution center. Now, with the acquisition, the Miamisburg manufacturer will now offer Galaxy Outdoors kitchen islands to its dealers. Now, we have more information if you'd like to read about it at Dayton247now.com. You can find that story and others like it under the Dayton Business Journal heading in the News tab. Well, the Reds, they went for the sweep in D.C. today. How one player first saved the game, then won the whole thing for them.
You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.